Ono did not like the Beatles and was instrumental in their breakup. Now there's a new book that charges she indeed was a destructive force and whose author claims she created an international incident by setting up the drug arrest of Paul McCartney.
I was in the office when the phone calls were being made to Japan.
Fred Seaman was John Lennon's closest personal assistant during the last 2 years of the singer's life. In his new book, Seaman claims that when Paul McCartney was arrested in Japan in January 1980 for drug possession, it was the result of a plot between Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono, a plot that began when McCartney called Ono in New York City.
Paul said that he was going to Japan and he was going to be staying at the presidential suite of the Hotel Okura. And he also said that either he or Linda had scored some dynamite marijuana and suggested coming over and smoking some with John.
Seaman writes that in the still bitter aftermath of the Beatles' breakup, Yoko Ono went to great lengths to prevent any of the group from contacting Lennon. She rejected the idea for the pot party at Lennon's home. In the meantime, McCartney's plan for him and his wife Linda to stay in the same hotel room the Lennons used when they visited Japan caused an uproar.
That really was very upsetting to John and Yoko, the thought that Paul and Linda McCartney might sleep in their bed at the Hotel Okura. That couldn't happen because the way they looked at it, it would spoil their hotel karma forever. So John and Yoko got together and they decided to do something, and Yoko told John that she would take care of it.
According to Seaman, McCartney's very public arrest was no accident.
In fact, the Japanese knew that he was carrying because later I learned that Yoko, through intermediaries, had tipped off airport authorities. All she did was make a couple of phone calls.
The authorities searched McCartney's luggage and found a half a pound of marijuana.
So Paul was taken off to jail, and this created a great glee at the Dakota. John, particularly John, was very cheerful about it. He was very happy because, he liked to sort of tweak Paul, and the fact that Paul was now, his tour was in ruin, and he would move into hotel just pleased John enormously.
Paul McCartney apologized to the Japanese for his misdeeds and was released from jail after 10 days. He was kicked out of Japan. Seaman says John Lennon kept track of the whole story.
He followed Paul's ordeal in great detail, and the thing that he liked most was when he found out that Paul was apparently being forced, that's what we had heard, to play Yesterday for the Japanese guards. So that was just too much for John. He loved it.
A spokesman for Yoko Ono says she was not involved in any way with the arrest of Paul McCartney and that the story is simply not true, and Paul McCartney had no comment. On tomorrow's Inside Story, the author of The Last Days of John Lennon says the pop music superstar actually predicted his own death.
Last week, when actor Brad Davis died at the age of 41, Hollywood learned the secret he had kept for years. Brad Davis was suffering from AIDS, but kept his silence because he feared if people found out, he wouldn't get work. Today's Inside Story, a secret of pain, a legacy of hope.
In an emotional interview only days after his death, Brad Davis's widow, Susan Bluestein, revealed the pain of living with their AIDS secret. Until his death, only Susan, their daughter, a doctor, and a few friends knew Davis's condition. Susan Bluestein says they didn't even turn to AIDS support groups for comfort.
We had always our private pain about it and our isolation. And that was a very hard thing to cope with, but we did have each other.
Susan Bluestein says the decision to remain silent troubled Brad because he cared so deeply about the AIDS crisis. In fact, in 1985, just months before being diagnosed, Davis starred in The Normal Heart, one of the first plays about AIDS. Brad Davis worked tirelessly for his family, and he completed his final film only 10 weeks ago.
He was really starting to get quite ill. He was really tired. And while he was still, it's okay, he was still all right to point, he said, I think I have to take the action now.
The action Davis took was to begin handwriting a book about the loneliness of facing AIDS.
But it was not to come forward to indict the industry, to call the industry hypocritical. That absolutely was not his intent. His intent was simply to help families out there who were suffering and to help the friends who helped him.
Brad Davis could not finish that book. His widow says she will.
My plans were to do for him what he could not do for himself, which was strictly to be out there and to tell people of our story and our struggle because that's what he wanted to do.
Brad Davis and Susan Bluestein's work is already bearing fruit. At a gala AIDS benefit last night, Richard Dreyfuss read a letter from Bluestein calling Hollywood to open its heart to AIDS sufferers now afraid to come forward.
Treat all of them with the human dignity they need.
And in front of a glittering crowd of stars and honorees, including Bette Midler, Robin Williams, and Angela Lansbury, the creation of an outreach program for secret AIDS patients in show business was announced. Bruce Davison says the program was inspired by Brad Davis and others who could have been helped by such a program.
People with HIV will be protected. They will not lose jobs. They will be hired. They will be serving the community within their creative capacities, and they will be supported.
That all-star Hollywood benefit over the weekend raised over $1 million to fight AIDS.
Coming up next, the big question on everybody's mind is Murphy Brown's pregnancy, and we'll make Candace Bergen deliver on it. And later, Robert Mitchum's secret to success, Shirley Temple's lifelong disappointment, and just a few of the unprecedented moments from the past 10 years on Entertainment Tonight.
Shortcuts from General Foods.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Tien. You can turn plain popcorn into a gourmet treat. I'll show you how after this.
Hazelnut Belgian Cafe from General Foods International Coffees. Another way to celebrate.
It doesn't seem so far away. I think of it now and then. And in one sweet moment, I can bring it back again.
You don't have to travel far to remember the taste of Belgium. Hazelnut Belgian Cafe. A smooth, rich coffee with a light hazelnut flavor.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
To add gourmet taste, make hot popcorn as usual and squeeze on margarine. Now, sprinkle any flavor of salad dressing mix to taste. I'm using Italian. Toss thoroughly. Add zing to a favorite crowd pleaser.
Shortcuts. This is a mobile home?
Honey, manufactured home.
Great house.
Happy housewarming. Glad I have room for all these people.
This bedroom is huge.
Hey, big bathroom.
Uh-oh, move over.
Yow, I'm hungry. Plenty to eat in all these cupboards. We'll be back.
I just love it.
For more information on today's manufactured homes, call 1-800-35-OWNER.
I can't believe it's a manufactured home.
This could be your last chance to catch the Mazda Savings Express.